up, guys? It's me, Shane, with Cornerstone Captures, and today we're going to go through editing these shots for Benson by Marcel. This is a black-owned watch company, super dope watches. My friend JB, Johnny Bailey, he's a influencer here in DC. He is my model for the day, wearing this watch, just sporting it for me for a little bit. So as you can see down here, we have a couple of shots of him wearing the watch, him and his family and stuff like that. But today we're going to focus just on this photo and how we're going to edit it. As you can see, we were outside. It's a very interesting angle of a shot. I was behind him, right over his back with the Sony a7 III, as you can see here, shooting at 35 millimeters with my 35 millimeter f1.4 at f14 ISO 2000. It's a little high, but get the shot, man. It's a clean shot, especially with the sunset going on here. As you can tell, it was definitely like golden hour. As you can see, the golden halo around here. So with this shot, one thing that I would do know is that it's going to be used for social media. So immediately what I like to do is I like to edit in 1:1, and then I'll make a copy of this and put it in the different aspect ratios depending on if he wants to use a square, portrait, or landscape on Instagram or Facebook or wherever. So step 1:1. And for this, I'm really liking it as is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with tweaking my white balance. We're going to change that to cloudy because the sun was behind a cloud a little bit. And, that just cooled it down just a little bit and added some magenta, but I actually want to bring that magenta back down to where it was of 3, maybe even a little less as we go along, but we'll see. I think that's a good starting point for a white balance. My contrast, if you know me, I like to go up to at least 12, if not a little more. Say 19 for now. Exposure, can bring it up to about 0.25. Highlights, I'm going to drop all the way down. Shadows, I'm going to come up just a tad bit. Let's say about right there. I'm going to eyeball. I'm not really like looking at numbers here. Whites. What I like to do is I'll hold Option on a Mac and play with my whites and see where it starts to clip. Now, because this is a lifestyle shoot, not like really like a product shoot, I don't mind too much, clipping. Like, this is outdoors. Like, I was not in a studio setting. We were just literally in a parking lot. I'm not too worried about clipping, the highlights from the sun and all that stuff. Keep it in natural. Blacks, doing the same thing, holding Option so you can see where the blacks start clipping. Think about there is good. Don't mind that. And then I'm also, sometimes I'll let go of Option when I get to a roundabout where I want to be, because I don't want it to overall change the whole photo, just so that I'm looking at one bit, right? One part of the blacks here. So that's fine right there. Before I touch any of the presents, I'm going to do a little bit of a tone curve here. So I'm going to lift everything, add a slight fade or whatever, and then we're going to just bring some contrast back by dropping that back to the midpoint. I'm going to drop this here, say to out point of about 65. I don't want it right back on the line. I want it a little bit below the line. That works. And then we'll pump these midtones just a tad bit. Yeah, I like that. I think that's fine. Okay, so let's see the before and after with the tone curve. I like that. It gives it a good fade, a nice look there. And also, kind of smooths out the background a little bit. All right, and so I did this, and you can tell when I turn it off and when I turn it back on, like it's definitely oversaturating a lot of the yellows and stuff here. So what I'll do is I'll take the saturation, I'll bring this down to about -20, just to alleviate it from that glow, too much of a glow, but I'll bump my, as you can see JB's texting me here, I'll bump my vibrance up a little bit So the difference between vibrance and saturation is that vibrance actually tries to work with the saturation of skin tone colors without messing with the saturation of other things. So like his skin, this watch color is about skin tone color, but it's not going to play too much with the blues in his jeans. And this is like this is global, so it's affecting everything. But what I'll do is I'll tweak individual colors in just a second when I go down to my other sliders. Okay, I think that looks good. All right, so like I was saying, we're gonna tweak the other colors in here. Like there's definitely some magentas and some blues in here that I'm seeing. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these blues and I'm gonna just drag the saturation down even more because I don't want them to be the emphasis. I do like the fact that there's, like some blues in the street and everything, but I'm going to keep that there. I'm typically, whenever I play with blues, I play with aquas as well. But I do know that if I take my tool here, my saturation, my HSL tool, and I slide over here, I know that the watch face, even though it's green, it actually pulls from the aquas. So the first thing I'll do is I'll raise this, and then I'll come over here and I'll grab hue, and I'll just try and match what I can remember from the watch. So if I were to just drag and drag and drag and drag, right, you can see that I can change the watch face. I can drastically change the watch face as need be. But I remember that it was more like a rich green. So I'm gonna go for that look. Take some of those aquas out, put some of these greens in. I'm gonna raise the saturation on the green so that that pops even more off the blue. So, the green is a good complementary color, because our colors in this are the blues in the jeans, the yellow-orange glow of the sun and watch, and then like there's this green. So you want this green to really pop and stick out. And then there's, in the logo, which we'll get to in a second, there's this every little touch of red that I'm actually gonna enhance as well. So again, just gonna play with these sliders a little bit. Not too much. See there? Yeah. I like that. Okay, and then we'll take the luminance. We'll just brighten up that watch face just a tad bit. Okay, and I think that's starting to look good. We'll check our sharpness, and what you can do is you can tap this little button here. There we go. And that'll bring up your magnifier here. And then another thing that you can do is on your masking, when you hold down Option, just like we did with the blacks and the white sliders, you can hold down masking to tell it to, add sharpening exactly where you want it. I know that I'm adding some on the skin. That's fine. What I want to do is I want to get this to a decent place. I'd say I don't want to add too much sharpening, but I definitely don't want it to be 0. I'd say about 35 should be okay. 30, somewhere between 30 and 35. That worked. All right. So now that I've added sharpening, what I want to do is I want to come back up to presence, and I want to start adding in some texture. And I also want to pump some clarity in here just a little bit. Normally, I really wouldn't suggest pumping this much, but to really like make this photo stand out and kind of grab your attention, I want that sharpness, that like, oh, like that is, there's something going on here type of feel, right? Like lift my blacks up a little bit. No, I'm not gonna do that. But what I am gonna do, let's reset that. I'm going to up my overall exposure a little bit more. Drop my shadows again, drop my whites. And what I'm paying attention to here is I'm paying attention to his skin, actually. The brightest part of his skin, not necessarily so the watch, because I think the watch is in a good place. I just want to make sure that his skin pops and, makes this image really look good. So that's looking good there. All right, we've done sharpening, we've done our presence. We don't have any lens corrections to make. We can add a little bit of a vignette, just a tad. Just like, 7 or 8, I'd say -8. And that adds just a little vignette around the sides. Okay, we won't do anything with color calibration. I like where our colors are. Okay, so now we get into our local adjustments, and starting off on the watch, if you zoom in 1:1, you can see that, this watch, it is worn. It is a worn watch. So there's a couple of nicks here and there. So let's go ahead and clean those up using our healing brush, just very quickly and easily dabbling. And I'm not taking any of this into Photoshop. This is all being done in Lightroom. So speaking of Lightroom, they're in the news right now. Adobe is with Lightroom. Their recent update actually has been causing a lot of issues for photographers because they've been deleting photos. And thankfully, you know, like I haven't upgraded or anything like that, so, or noticed that my photos have been deleted. But that's why you always make a backup of your backup of your backup of your backup. Just in case y'all never knew why photography was kind of expensive, it's because you have to back up everything. You have to have a backup of everything, because if you shoot something and you lose it, it's gone. And no one wants that. All right, so as you can see, I've just been going over like little nicks and scratches within the watch itself. So let's turn that off and on. You know, just a cleaner watch face, definitely. Turning that off and on, you get to see more. Definitely brings out more of the imperfections when you do that. So do that a couple of times, and you'll start to see stuff. Doesn't have to be perfect, but when you zoom out, you know, you just want it to be clean. Cool. All right, so the next local adjustment that I want to do in here is I want to take my brush and I want to make sure, I know that the letters are already white, but I want to brighten them up even more. So I have my little local brush, soft, flows at 100, feathers at 100. I'm just going to paint with white all over this logo. I'm not going to worry about it too much, and I'm going to show you guys why, because Lightroom has a nice little trick up its sleeve for local adjustments now. Like, that looks great, and I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but you know, it added a little haloing effect in the greens. So if I were to turn on this overlay, you can see that there. But I want to make sure that everything's covered, because now what I can do is I can mask my local adjustment brush. So I'll come here to my range mask, I'll go to color, and I'll choose this little eyedropper. And what you do with this is, I wouldn't pick, but let's say on this O here, I will drag a little square into all the white, and boom, that just takes care of all that fringing for me and mask. So now I'll turn this off, and now I can effectively just deal with just the whites in the lettering and not the area around it, not the green or anything like that. So let's put that back at about 50, about 45. I want it to pop, but I don't want it to be too bright, because I do want this to be like the attention grabber here is the logo itself. So we're gonna do a little bit of the same thing for that red dot that I mentioned earlier. So I'm gonna come over here, click new on the brush. I'm just gonna paint on it. Doesn't have to be anything spectacular. Like I said, it's gonna be flow at 100. And go back down here to my range mask, choose color, grab my eyedropper tool, and same deal, make a small box. There we go. And so now I'm just affecting just that red dot. So I'm going to bring the whites up a little bit, but I'm also going to bump the saturation a lot, and actually bump the exposure of it just so that it pokes out too. And we'll zoom out to see what that looks like. Put that away. Yeah, I like that. So if I turn this on and off, you see that that logo pops a lot better, especially that red dot. Beat that red dot there. I think this is good. Again, I've done, you know, like very minimal local adjustments. And so the next thing I'll do is I'll hold Command and hit apostrophe. And what this does is creates a virtual copy. And then I'll hit R for my crop tool. And like I said, I know that this is going to Instagram, and this is our winter shot I've already discussed with Johnny. One thing that I can do, and that I will do, is on this original square shot, let's go back to it. We'll bring this up, is I'm not worried about his feet or anything. I just really, really, really want this watch to be center focus. Okay, and I'll hit O to change my overlays. And as you can see, it'll cycle through, especially some of the ones where, like this, where there's a crosshatch with the watch in the middle. You know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, you know, if I was being nitpicky and OCD, I would do something like that. But then I start to lose, you know, more of the human aspect of it. So I might do something like this, where the logo itself is in the center. I think that looks good. So if I hit O a couple of times, yep, we're looking good there. All right, so I'll hit enter. squared that up. And in order to keep everything uniform, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove that virtual copy and redo the virtual copy now that I've actually changed it. Hit R. And if you don't know your aspect ratios on Instagram, portraits that are not stories are actually 8x10s. There we go. So I'll hit X to change from landscape to portrait like this. And again, hitting O on my overlays just to be sure that that logo is right dead center. Perfect. Cool. All right, I like that. So there you go, guys. That's pretty much what I'm gonna do with this photo and the rest of these photos. These photos down here with the hand and the bag, they're gonna get a different look. Definitely gonna get a different look. But yeah, I really like this right here. I think this is my winner shot. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. I really like this. I'm gonna deliver these two, this square and this portrait, to the client. Shout out again to my guy, Johnny Bailey. You can find him at @1JohnnyBailey on Instagram. Also check out Benson by Marcel. They're awesome watches. They're always, updating their watch faces and their chains and their links. So, definitely go check them out. And like I said, they're Black owned, so it's for the culture. So if you guys enjoyed this, let me know in the comments down below. Let me know if you want to see more of these, and I'm out. I'll catch you guys next time.